Good morning, I'm Maddie Jansen, and this is the podcast of 17 News at Sunrise. It's everything you need to know to start your day in about 15 minutes.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. 1 week after a 7.1 quake rattled Ridgecrest, we take a look at the recovery efforts and hear how people are rebuilding and healing.
We have new information on the domestic violence call that led to a deadly officer-involved shooting. What we've learned still ahead.
And if you're a fan of guac, expect to shell out more cash for it. The reason why, coming up. On this Friday, it is July 12th, 2019. Good morning. It is 5 a.m. I'm Olivia LaVoice in for Maddie Jansen.
Tabitha Mills next to Kevin Charette, and that
I love guac.
I know. I just say I'm heartbroken. I don't want to say
not
more
only just
avocados.
guac, but I like taking an avocado, cutting it in half, and just scooping it out and eat it like that.
Well, you're in trouble then.
Oh, great. It means I'm going to have
Prices are going up. Heat's going up too,
The
right?
heat is definitely going up. We've been talking about it for the last several days, and yes, we are heating up for the weekend. Let's talk about yesterday. Our high, 96 degrees. The record on that date, 110. Set back in 1961. We won't be looking at any records like that just yet. As we take a look outside right now, 71 degrees in Bakersfield. A light wind down to the northwest at 5. And hour by hour, starting out in the 70s today, 94 at noon. And we'll be right near 100 by 3 o'clock. And then for the mountains, right now, 57 and comfortable. No winds to talk about. And as we take a look at the day, upper 50s by 7 a.m. 87 at noon. And by 3 o'clock, the wind's picking up a little bit out of the northwest at 16. And we'll be looking at temperatures into the 90s.
Well, 1 week ago today, people in Ridgecrest and Trona were waking up rattled, trying to comprehend the natural disaster that struck the day before, a 6.4 earthquake.
We thought that was the biggest quake to hit Southern California in 2 decades. No one was expecting the jolt we'd feel some 34 hours later. A quake with a magnitude of 7.1, 11 times stronger than the first Templar, shook Ridgecrest and beyond.
This morning, the communities hit hardest remain on edge, but are working to pick up the pieces and rebuild. 17's Eitan Wallace has a look at the events that transpired this past week.
This is Ridgecrest. Population 28,880. Police force 30 officers. Tucked away in the Mojave Desert, the tight-knit, somewhat isolated Kern County community has long been known for the China Lake Naval Air Weapons Station, a military base that oversees research and testing for the U.S. Navy. But during the morning of July 4th, the town became known for another reason. A magnitude 6.4 earthquake rocked the ground 11 miles northeast of the city. The shaking felt as far away as Las Vegas and Tijuana.
Oh my God!
But the quake was especially strong in Ridgecrest and the surrounding communities.
Everything started rocking and rolling.
Shaking was so bad, and it followed for 2-3 minutes.
This is one of the largest earthquakes to strike Southern California in years.
Remarkably, no one died and there were no serious injuries, but the damage was evident. From mobile homes lifted completely off of their foundations to house fires to impacted convenience stores.
And look at all these bottles on the ground.
An earthquake so strong it led to the evacuation of the city's hospital.
We made the decision based out of an abundance of caution.
And it was a similar abundance of caution that led homeowner Dakota Saunders to take his TV and other items off the wall in preparation for aftershocks.
Put it on the floor just in case when the next one hits.
Sure enough, just a day later, as the city was responding to the 6.4 quake, another larger earthquake struck the region. This time, a Friday night shaker that measured as a 7.1 on the Richter scale.
Oh my God. It just felt like hell, honestly.
Once again, the city was in emergency mode. House fires, ceiling damage, and no power for more than 1,000 homes and businesses. But even so, no deaths or major injuries to report. The governor surveyed the damage the next day.
California is committed to rebuilding.
Here in the city of Ridgecrest, the damage is visible. These cinder blocks used to be on this wall, but during the earthquake, they completely toppled over onto the ground. And if you think the damage here is bad, just imagine how bad it is in the community of Trona, just 10 miles from the epicenter.
There, the earthquake cracked homes, damaged roads, and destroyed walls. Homeowner Chris Gorlitz showed us the damage.
This house is made out of solid concrete. Right here, it broke all the way through up and came all the way over right there, and you could see it went off that direction as well. We were very lucky to have as minimal damage as we had.
To make matters worse, the people of Trona had no access to clean drinking water for 6 days. Bottled water, the only option. And more difficulties for those in this area. The Searles Valley Minerals Plant, which employs a significant amount of those who call Trona home, closed for at least 2 weeks. But even with the challenges, this community is keeping strong.
If any community can get through something like this, it's Trona and the surrounding area. We are so proud of you folks working together.
We made it by the grace of God, and a lot of houses that I thought would collapse have stayed upright, but we don't need anything else bigger, I'll tell you that. We're Trona strong and Trona awesome.
And a similar sentiment from the people and leaders of Ridgecrest.
We are a great community, and you know what? Ridgecrest rocks! Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are amazing. Thank you. Ridgecrest rocks.
Eitan Wallace, 17 News.
Recovery efforts are successfully underway in Ridgecrest in the nearby town of Trona. On Wednesday, people there got word water was restored and the roads are in good shape.
But there are still challenges to overcome. As Eitan mentioned, the Searles Valley Minerals Plant that employs much of the town is still shut down, and people living in these desert communities are still trying to process the emotional trauma the natural disaster left behind.
We'll have a list of things that you need to do to get ready for the next earthquake or other disasters. Just visit our website, kget.com, to print our checklist. You'll also find information on how to sign up for Ready Kern, a countywide alert system that sends emergency notifications to your phone. You can also learn how to sign up for Smart 911, a database first responders can use to access your information to better help you during an emergency.
And we have additional content on our social media pages and website, including a special page dedicated to our coverage of the Ridgecrest earthquakes. That's on our website, kget.com.
And we're not the only ones on edge. We want to bring you some breaking news out of Washington State, where a 4.6 quake has woken up thousands of people in cities north of Seattle this morning. The quake hit just before 3 this morning and was centered east of Everett. That's about 30 miles north of Seattle. The USGS says a 3.5 aftershock followed 2 minutes later. The county sheriff says there that there's no reports of injuries or major damage. This is some of the first video we're getting from our affiliate in Seattle. You can see this baby was woken up by the temblor. People who felt the quake said it felt like a semi rolling down the road. We're continuing to track this story, and we'll bring you updates as we get them.
A Tehachapi woman accused of killing her ex is set to appear in court this morning. Police say Wendy Howard shot and killed her ex-husband, Kelly Pitts, on June 5th. The shooting happened after she reported him to police for allegedly molesting their 16-year-old daughter. Howard also told police that Pitts molested her older daughter as well. Police investigated those claims back in 2006, but the DA's office never filed charges. Right now, Howard is behind bars, being held on $1 million bail. We're going to continue to follow this case, and we'll bring you an update on what happens in court later today.
Well, it's proving to be a deadly summer on the Killer Kern. Crews have pulled 2 more bodies from the water. The Kern County Sheriff's Office says search and rescue teams found a man's body about a mile west of Hart Park Wednesday. Kern County Park Rangers are handling the case. They've had a beefed up presence at Hart Park with the ongoing plans to improve the park. And search and rescue crews found the body of another man yesterday afternoon. KCSO posted these pictures of the recovery effort on its Facebook page. Crews pulled the body out of the water near the Sandy Flat campground. That's downstream from Keysville. The identities of both people will be released at a later time by the coroner.
And there's new information about a deadly officer-involved shooting in Northeast Bakersfield earlier this week. We now know the names of the officers who opened fire. We first brought you this story as breaking news Tuesday morning right here on Sunrise. BPD says officers Matthew Aquino and Luis Rodriguez both opened fire while responding to a domestic violence call on Nelson Street, about a mile away from Bakersfield College. 36-year-old Anthony James Gonzalez was killed in the shooting. BPD hasn't released details about what led up to that shooting. They also say the two officers involved have been on the force for more than 7 years, and this is the first shooting they've both been involved in.
Welcome back in your 17 Business Watch. If you're planning on having guacamole or avocado toast this weekend, expect to pay more for it. Avocado prices are up, meaning you'll have to shell out more green for the popular green fruit. That's right, it's a fruit. During the first week of the month, wholesale prices of avocados from Mexico were 129% higher than this time last year. And last week, the Department of Agriculture says the average national price of an avocado was $2.10. Economic experts say the price increase is due to low supply. California's avocado season is coming to an end and was the smallest crop in more than a decade. It's also the lowest production time for the season for Mexico, where the U.S. gets about 90% of its avocados. Money matters can create serious stress, but financial expert Stacey Johnson shows us some ways to put a stop to that.
Mortgages and saving for your daughter go to school.
3 children in college at the same time. I don't stress about money because my parents have to.
Finances make you fret? You're not alone. According to the American Psychological Association, money is almost always a top stress producer among Americans. You're not going to get through life without ever worrying about money, but there are specific steps you can take that are going to reduce that money-related stress. Step 1, get organized. Look at what you own and especially what you owe. Not knowing where you stand, that's stressful. Step 2, track your income and expenses. Not knowing whether you're spending more than you're making, also stressful. Step 3, have a goal. It's easier to reach a destination when you know what it is. Step 4, use technology. Things like banking apps, budgeting programs, expense trackers, investment calculators. It's all online, and most of it's free. And one final step, if you don't know, learn. Understanding things like your 401k or stocks is going to reduce your worry. And if you can't understand it, hire someone who does. Just be sure they're paid by the hour and not by commissions. Bottom line, if you're feeling a lot of stress around money, try to take more control, because when you do that, you're going to feel a lot better. And now what you need is some specific tips and advice that are going to help you control that money. And you're going to find them right here at MoneyTalksNews.com. Just do a search for Money Stress. For Money Talks News, I'm Stacey Johnson.
Money Talks is brought to you by your local consumer credit counseling service. If you've got debt problems or just want some free budget counseling, call today.